Hey guys, today we're going over my top 5 2020 fantasy breakout running back candidates. At number 1, I've got Kenyon Drake for the Arizona Cardinals last year, 170 carries for 817 yards and 8 touchdowns. He also had 50 catches for about 350. But last year, he was traded midseason from the Dolphins to the Cardinals. And in those 8 games with the Cardinals, he had 643 yards and all 8 of his touchdowns. He averaged about 5.2 yards per carry. I mean, it's kind of an obvious pick here. Just based on his production, David Johnson is gone now, and it's just another running back that was freed from Miami, that needed to be freed from Miami to be a good running back. The only real downside I see for Drake is I'm not sure how much receiving work he's going to see. Kyler really didn't check down that much last year. Kyler has the legs to run, but really Kenyon Drake. I mean, he's probably going to go late first round, early second round. He's got a huge, really high ceiling, and he's going to be a unrestricted free agent next year. So he's definitely playing for the contract. At number 2, I've got Joe Mixon for the Bengals last year, 278 carries for 1137 and 5 touchdowns. He also had 35 catches for 287 and 3 touchdowns. Now this guy probably my favorite prospect going into next year. He had a huge second half last year. Last 8 games, he had 5 top 10 weeks. So 5 of his 8 games, he was in the top 10 for a running back. You've got Joe Burrow coming in, who is, rookie QBs typically don't explode, but he's definitely going to be able to move the ball a lot better than they did last year. And the funny thing is, last year when they weren't moving the ball, uh, Joe Mixon was getting the ball even when the team was down big. He had 20 plus carries in almost every game in the second half of the year. The only downside really for Mixon, I think he might hold out. Final year of his deal, he could hold out for a new contract. But when you look at Joe Mixon and you look at the rest of the league, Joe Mixon's just one of those guys. Those rare guys who can be the workhorse back, kind of like Le'Veon Bell was a couple years ago. And just the fact that the Bengals trust him. I mean, they're going to give him the ball no matter what. So if this guy's healthy and not holding out and playing, he's going to be a huge value next year for fantasy. At number 3, I've got Miles Sanders for the Eagles. Last year, 179 carries for 818 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he also got quite a bit of receiving work. He had 50 catches for 509 yards and another 3 touchdowns. This guy, absolute beast last year, 4.6 yards per carry. After Jordan Howard went down, he was pretty much the number one guy. And, Boston Scott, Corey Clement could eat into his work coming up, but I think that just watching him last year, watching him run, he's gonna have a big year this year. He has a chance to be the workhorse too, kind of like Joe Mixon. And the big thing I like about Miles Sanders is he could have some pretty good ADP. I mean, he might not go till the late second, early third, maybe fourth round. So for me, Miles Sanders, he's gotten a lot of comparisons to be one of the next great running backs, and this is basically just me buying into the hype. I don't have a whole lot of stats to back it, but I just think Miles Sanders this year in a team that's going to need weapons, he's going to step up and be the guy. At number 4, I've got David Johnson for the Texans last year, 94 carries for 345 and 2 touchdowns, and he also had the 36 catches for 370 and 4. Now, obviously the tape was not great for David Johnson last year. That's understandable. A lot of people think he lost a step, could have been battling injuries, whatever. But, the fact is the Texans traded their best player, probably the best receiver in the league, for this guy, David Johnson. You look at Carlos Hyde last year, he had the 11th most carries in the NFL and 150 vacated targets now with Hopkins gone. This is just a pure opportunity pick here. David Johnson, he's going to step in. He's going to get carries. He's going to catch out of the backfield. The only guy really competing with him is going to be Duke Johnson. But even last year, Duke Johnson really wasn't much of a threat to Carlos Hyde. So, um, he's still got a career 4.0 yard per carry. It's going to be interesting to see how he fares, especially with all this, not being able to practice and having all their training sessions like usual because of Corona. We don't really know his injury status, but to me, David Johnson is going to be huge for the Texans. And really, he might not even go till fourth, fifth round. So I think he just presents a lot of value. Obviously, there's some risk here, but I just think David Johnson, the opportunity over the talent on this one. At number 5, I've got David Montgomery for the Bears last year, 242 for 889 yards, 6 touchdowns, and he had 25 catches for 185 and 1 touchdown. Now, he only had 3.7 yards per carry last year. Not great, not terrible. But, you look at their roster, the Bears didn't draft any running backs, they didn't sign any running backs, so no one's going to be competing for a starting spot. You got Tariq Cohen, who's more the pass catcher anyway. So Montgomery, to me, is really set up for another 250 carry season. Last year, he got 75% of the carries out of the backfield with 26 red zone carries, so they trust him in the red zone. Small, stocky guy. He's going to get opportunity. He's going to get volume. But also, I just think that David Montgomery last year was a benefit, or not a benefit, but a side grade of a bad offense. He wasn't able to move the ball because the Bears weren't able to move the ball, but they got Nick Foles now to compete with Mitch Trubisky. It's going to depend on QB play, but David Montgomery is going to get a lot of volume. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you like the content, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate the feedback, and we'll see you next time.